Hello and welcome to Farming Simulator 25 DLC number 1 with me, Daddy Jokey. Today we're not doing an episode on Riverbend Springs as we usually do. Today we're taking a look at the new DLC for Farming Simulator 25, the NEXAT DLC. I think it's kind of awesome, but also kind of a mixed bag. Like, I love it because it's an amazing piece of technology, and in real life it's gonna be banging, especially if you're not a small farmer and can actually afford this device. But as far as Farming Simulator 25 goes, it's a little peculiar, to be honest. So let's look at it real quick. The NEXAT DLC comes with 12 vehicles or implements, 12 things that are in this DLC. None of them are particularly cheap. First thing you're going to need when you start this DLC is a ton of money. You're going to need several million currency in order to afford any of this. You're going to have to buy this. You can't do anything without this. If you don't buy this carrier vehicle, the NEXAT, you're not going to be able to use this. So this is the first thing you need to buy. It looks pretty amazing, and it does some pretty crazy stuff, and it drives interestingly. I will show you that in just a minute here. Basically, this DLC, you can split it into 3 categories. Category number 1 is the carrier vehicle. It is a group of 1. There is only 1 carrier vehicle. You will have to buy this in order to use anything else in the DLC. Category 2 is intermediary equipment. So that is stuff that connects to your vehicle right here, but can't actually do any work without stuff from the 3rd category. That 2nd category, the intermediary vehicles, is or contains this thing, which is the NEXAT Nexco. It's the combine harvester module. You have to hook that up to this, and then you can hook up a header to it. Then there is a slurry module. That's also the intermediary vehicle. And then there is seed hopper, which is intermediary vehicle for anything that isn't harvesting, basically. And then there is this thing. This is kind of maybe it's a group of its own. It is an intermediary vehicle. It is a sprayer, but it doesn't actually need anything connected to it to work. It basically just opens up to 56 meters, which is a pretty amazing wingspan, if I'm honest. And that's it. Like, that's all it does. You don't need to connect any of the other devices. Now, 3rd group is the actual, like, ground working implements, which contains a planter, which can plant corn, sorghum, sunflower, soybean, beets, cotton, and I think that's peas. Seeder, which contains, or which can drill wheat, barley, oat, cannoli, long grain rice. What is that thing? The cover crop. Oilseed radish, grass, peas, and spinach. Okay, so this isn't peas, this is green beans. Peas and spinach. Then we have this thing, which is a cultivator as well as a slurry distributor. So you can kind of see where that's gonna go, right? You can see this and this is gonna be like that. And already you can see that will cost you almost $500,000, right? Like, it is not going to be a cheap purchase for your farm. Then we have the Vaderstad Carrier NX, which is a disc harrow, and it requires an intermediary module. And I haven't really stress tested this, but basically it goes with this. Yeah. And then at the very bottom, somewhere over here, we have this guy. No, not that guy. Yes, we already talked about it. These 2 Vaderstad, I actually don't know the pronunciation, connect to the seed hopper. Then we have this Einbock, which is a hoe. It pulls small and medium weeds. Yay. And then we have headers. Then we have a 50-foot header for your regular grain crops, and we have a 50-foot header for corn and sunflower. And now we're gonna hop in and we're gonna check it all out with that intro out of the way. In case you're wondering, how do I quickly find it out? If you hit this thing in the store, it separates stuff into mods and DLCs. So you can see our Mecha Unpack and NEXAT. You click on it and it gives you all the things. That's the quickest way to find all the stuff from this DLC. Now, here we are. I have actually spent an hour preparing this so that we have a bunch of these things floating all over. We don't have to fuff around with it. But I want to show you my favorite feature. My favorite feature. So this is the NEXAT carrier vehicle in its, I guess, work state, you could call this. This is how you connect to the devices, and this is how you work the fields. There's also transport state, which is how you saw it in the store. So my favorite feature is this. Check this out. We're gonna turn it on, and we're trying to connect to that seed hopper over there, right? And if we drive up forward, as soon as we get close enough, if you have your little menu over here in the top left hand corner enabled, opened, then you will see these green lines that tell you if you're aligned well. And you can see if you're misaligned, that they will actually bend and twist along with that. If you turn this off, you won't have that. However, here is my favorite feature number 2, or part 2 of part 1. It does the same thing, but look, it has an autopilot. If you hold O while in transport mode near enough of a vehicle, it just drives itself to connect to the implement you're trying to do. It lowers itself, it parks itself perfectly, and then you just hit Q, bam, and you're connected. And then you can just repeat the same thing for the other implement. So watch this, holding O again. Okay, I am too far. Holding O, here we go, and it just drives itself. And it isn't perfect. It like drives onto the implement a little bit. You probably don't want that in real life, but you know, it works. And it drives you off the implement as well to kind of fix itself a little bit. And then when you see the prompt come up, you just connect, and Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your auntie. Now, important thing is there is some weirdness happening in this DLC in terms of folding into transport mode. For instance, here we have selected, or we have the bottom implement selected, so we can raise and lower this device, which I believe is the cultivator. And if I want to fold the whole thing to drive to a field somewhere, I will hit X, and the whole thing will fold up in kind of a funny way. It's got a little leg, and then the other one, and it folds the wheels, and now it's ready to be transported. With some of the other implements, I have ran into an issue where you actually have to go and you have to physically select the carrier vehicle in order to fold it up. Otherwise, all you're doing is folding, like for instance, the corn header. The corn header, if you hit X while you have the header selected, all it does is just fold the spikes of the header. It doesn't actually put the vehicle in the transport mode. But anyway, so this is it. This is the vehicle, and as you can see, it is a beast. It is huge. It is basically the length of a semi-truck without being articulated. But it doesn't actually drive horribly. It definitely is. It definitely isn't going to be easy to drive around in like tighter spaces, specifically because the cab extends so far in front of the wheels. So you actually have to kind of take the cab into account, which can be kind of hard. But the turning radius, like right there, see, I just smacked the cab on something. But the turning radius of the thing is actually pretty easy to deal with. Like, it's, in a way, it's easier than a semi-truck getting around corners because both your wheels turn. As you can see, we're going to try and turn over here. And you got to kind of keep in mind that the back wheels turn so that you don't, like, veer off to one side, because it kind of shuffles a little bit. So we're going to drive around this thing just to see how it works. And as you can see, tight spaces are a problem, right? The cab is just not super responsive to fitting into tight places. Now, there is a cool feature with this particular implement. If we hit Z, we can partition the tanks differently. So we can start with 2,500 liters of seed and 18,000 liters of fertilizer, and we can change that to 4,500 liters of seed and 3,500 liters of solid fertilizer, which is pretty cool. I don't really know why we can do it like 50-50, but oh well. I guess you always use more fertilizer anyway. So, but that's this. Let's hop on to what I've already prepared here. First, let's check out the harvester modules. Is this it? No, this is the one we were just in. So here, I am carrying the corn header on a trailer. You can actually fit this on a trailer. If you select, if we pop into the shop real quick, if you select the corn header and you go into combinations, there is a header, the Demco HD52, and it fits on it perfectly. You can, I don't actually know if the vehicle itself can drop it on there, but you can pick it up and put it on there. And the reason why I carried it on this is because this was before I realized that you have to actually select the vehicle. So I will show you what I was talking about earlier with the inability to kind of fold the entire vehicle while you have the corn header selected. So here we are. We're going to pull up to the thing. We're going to connect the header. Then I'm going to quickly butt the tractor out. Butt the tractor out of the way. Drive out this long trailer. I'm going to take it all the way here. Unfortunately, the corn isn't grown. I kind of forgot about that part. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of editing here and skip timing. But we'll survive. We'll survive. So here we go. And never mind all the stutter. I honestly have no idea what's up. But yes, so here we have the corn header selected. And if I hit X to unfold, all it does is unfold the fingers. Right? You can see we're not getting into transport mode. We're just folding and unfolding this thing. So if you hit G, select your vehicle, that enables transport mode selection. And then we can fold it up and the header comes up. The whole device folds back into transport mode. And now we can drive it around. Right? So let's unfold it back up so that we can get ready for harvesting. And I guess I should have planned this a little bit better. We're going to come back to the corn harvesting in just a minute here. What I'm first going to do is we're going to pop over to my okay. Ah, I see. It's this one. It just shuffled off. So for some reason, it slid down the hill. This was the first vehicle that I prepared. This is your regular grain harvester. As you can see, this one, because it doesn't need unfolding, we can enable work mode while we have the thing selected. So really, it is just a matter of having the corn header not selected. Everything else works fine. So here we go. We unfold this device. And as you can see, the unfolding process is pretty amazing, right? Like, it is definitely not your usual farming simulator, harvester. Once you have this in the work mode, you can toggle using Control Y or your equivalent on a controller. You can use different steering modes. Basically, it has grab steering. We can use front wheel steering. We can use rear wheel steering, which is the default steering method. And we can use all wheel steering. And to be honest with you, I haven't really played with that much. I've just steered it from the rear steering. It is a bit of a nightmare to do. So that's my really only gripe with it. It is really difficult to get used to it, especially because the vehicle is supposed to make stuff easier, and it definitely does not. But if we turn this on, lower our implement, and start going, you will see that it is just your regular harvester. It produces 2 straw swaths. If I hit this, we'll switch from chopping to swathing, and it produces 2 lovely straw swats. Some people don't like it because it saves you work now but makes more work later, but actually not really. You could just, well, I guess yes, really. It does cause more work because if you had a normal harvester with a 50-foot header, you would only have 1 huge straw swath. I can see it in terms of farming simulator labor. However, in terms of real life labor, you know, this is still reducing a lot of compaction on your field because you aren't driving. Well, actually, I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'll be quiet. The harvesting. The harvesting is basically simple. The only issue that is probably this is gonna be hot take. This is my biggest problem with this DLC, and it is that it is not very compatible with the current way that the worker deals with fields. If you try to use steering assist, or if you try to use an AI worker, it is a little bit of a mess because you don't have the option for them to just go up and down the field and then at the end of the field just turn around kind of cleverly and basically just go up and down the field in like insensible ways. We're not gonna do this whole thing. I don't want to be here for ages. We're gonna do the one ride up the field so that I can show you what I mean in terms of the AI being kind of wonky donkey. Basically, when you get to the top of the field, now you're facing away and you want to just turn around to go down, but the AI will still force you to do a single headland, and this vehicle is not necessarily suited to headland production because the wheels don't turn regularly, right? Even if, maybe if we have the crab steering turned on, let's check that out. Steering wheel or steering mode, all wheel steering. So now we're here, the AI wants you to do this. And as you can see, that front wheel is basically ruining your crop, right? And you don't want that. Like, you can see that we're currently causing ourselves to have a lot of losses. I mean, not a lot, but definitely losses, right? Whereas what you really do want to do when you get to the top of the field, we're gonna quickly get back to where we used to be. Right, so this is definitely not the way you want to be doing this. What you do want to be doing, in my opinion, it is a slow vehicle when it's working. We could probably just turn it off and lift the header. What you do want to be doing is you actually come to the end of the field and you get all the way off the field, and then you bust a UE using all-wheel steering. It gets even weirder if you're not using all-wheel steering. If you're using your rear or front wheel steering, it gets really bizarre. And then you just go and you try to align your front wheels back in on that side, right? So that you're only ever driving through that one tram line, right? And this has a pretty significant capacity. I think this is the best part about this vehicle. Check out the capacity. We are at 16,000 and we're only at 50%. This thing is huge, right? So if you have big fields, this might actually be an interesting vehicle to have. But anyway, let's cut that out and go someplace else. So the corn header, we're gonna do that in a bit. I have to scooch the time over. This is our seed drill, and apparently I forgot to fill it up, but that's fine because we actually get to change the partitioning here. As you can see, I showed you earlier on the other vehicle. But first we're gonna go into this one because I already filled that one up, I think. Or maybe not. As you can see, I have prepared my video. I have not filled it up. I don't know what I'm doing. I will do a little cut here and fix this, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so I filled up the seed drill. I didn't fill it up all the way, no need to. Let's watch it unfold again because it is such a fun little animation. There. So now we basically just have this selected. It is in work mode, and I will show you what I was talking about earlier with the AI worker. Like, it just won't let us not do any headlands, and so that to me is a bit of a problem. Same thing with steering assist. We will still be left with at least one headland. So even if we do steering assist, we are still left with lines. No field course detected, of course. Here we go. So as you can see, it is a little bit particular. And given the way that driving this vehicle is a bit of a struggle, we'll see. I will show you what it does when you're kind of even just slightly misaligned. Okay, so we go turn the vehicle on. I think we've lowered all the implements, haven't we? There we go. Lower the implement, and then we go active and go. And you can see that when you're slightly misaligned, it seems to be working fairly well. I didn't actually realize that this field was having like issues with the grass, but you know, it is working as well as advertised. And what it's doing is, the part that I like about it is it's actually leaving a tram line. If you look visually, there's always going to be a line where the wheels are going. So when we get to the other side, we're gonna turn around and head back down the second line, and you will see that the wheels will perfectly match where those blue lines are, and so you will have tram lines. I don't know if you will have them once the field grows, because when I look at the map that tells us what's in the fields and the stage of the crop, it just covers the field perfectly. There aren't any little lines in there, so I'm not 100% sure if this will actually like have a tram line forever, but we will find that out when I fast forward the time to harvest the corn, because that's that should make this field grow up some. So we're again, we're not gonna do the whole field, no need to. I might just do a little bit more off camera so that you guys don't have to sit here for half an hour watching me harvest the field. But you will see over here, normally we should make a turn, and the vehicle just won't. It won't even stop. Which I guess technically no vehicle does, but the turns themselves are a bit difficult. This is the rear wheel steering mode. You can see that it is just as unwieldy as the crab steering was, or not crab steering, I'm sorry, the all-wheel steering. Here we go back onto the field, and you can see perfect alignment on this track, and we are leaving a tram line. This is not just like the wheel texture. Once we get out of here, or if I like turn the game on and off, you can see that under the wheel texture we actually have, I don't know how to properly align to it so you can see it, but you can see that on the inner edge, that is not just the wheel texture, that is actually just the field texture. So once we get, I bet you if we get to the other side of the field, we will be able to see it. But this is particularly noticeable when you're doing corn, when you're planting row crops like corn or sunflower, because you will literally see the wheel go in one of the gaps between the things. So, you know, is this a groundbreaking vehicle? It is pretty amazing. Would I buy that for my farm? Only if I was like a massive farming concern, you know, like a AGCO kind of deal. Big pharma with an F, not a P, or not a PH. Would I actually utilize this vehicle, or maybe like a cooperative or combine of some kind? Is the only time that I would see this. It is definitely a device built for large, straight fields. Otherwise, you will start running into all those turning issues that I showed you earlier. So yeah, that is the harvester. That is the seed drill. Let's check out this thing. I think this is my favorite part because of the wingspan, and it just looks amazing. It is a beast of a machine. So I'm gonna fill that up real quick. We're gonna fill it up, and then okay, I'm back, and I'm filling up the thing, and while we're filling it up, I'm gonna show you, I already have it zoomed out all the way because this thing is massive. we're gonna start the engine evidently, and then we're gonna like unfold the sprayer. And it is just this is one of my favorite parts about this DLC. The machines are amazing. How useful they actually are to your farming simulator journey remains to be determined still, but on their own they're pretty awesome. I did forget to unfold the vehicle itself, so we're gonna do that real quick. And then you can see that at least on this field, it should cover the entire field in one pass, which I think is the whole point, the reduction of compaction. We are not detecting fields. How about now? Still no field. Okay, well, whatever. We're just gonna freeball it, as they say. Let's turn it on. And we are applying fertilizer, and you can see, if you had this actually cleverly like thought out, there should be a tram line where the vehicle goes, and so it shouldn't ruin your crops. It doesn't have any it doesn't have an option for row crop tires, or care wheels, or whatever you call them in your neck of the woods. But you will only have to pass once through this field. It is 56 meters in length, which is more than most of the other devices. And you could argue that it is just as expensive as all the other devices, so why wouldn't you just buy those? I think the point they're making is that if you have the same carrier vehicle for everything, then first of all, you don't need to be having, oh, I need a tractor to work that field with a sprayer, and I need a tractor to work that field, and all of it needs different horsepower. No, instead you have this one vehicle, and it does all the work. But yeah, that's spraying, it's not rocket science, it's just a sprayer. So we'll just park it up here and move on to the next thing. Next thing, well, we just drove that. Next thing is this. Next thing is the slurry spreader. So I have a tank full of slurry over here. One thing I noticed is I couldn't directly fill the slurry tanker from the sell point or from the buy point I placed over there. For some reason, it wouldn't recognize the trigger. I had to actually get a trailer transport vehicle to fill this thing. So maybe that's a bug, maybe it's a feature. I'm not sure. Couldn't tell you. But while we're doing this, I'm gonna turn that vehicle. We're gonna unfold into a work mode. We'll see how it goes, since we have a semi parked right next to us. We just shove it, whatever. Yeah, no nothing about it. And so this is our vehicle. I don't think we have to do any unfolding down here. We just lower it, turn it all on, and then we just go and apply slurry as well as cultivate the field. So this is basically twofer, right? We pass once and we're applying slurry as well as changing the field state into something that we can plant into. Again, the benefit of this is that you only need one carrier vehicle, unless you need multiple, which I can actually see why you would. But yes, so here we go. Same thing, right? We then need to turn around and we want to align against those tram lines that we've already made. And again, we see that this is a vehicle that will require a lot of space, so it is not something that you can use on a farm that has tight space around its fields. This will require just wide open acres. Over here on this, with this device, we see that it actually overlaps. We don't have any missing texture. I think that's probably by design, so that you're not missing out on any chunks of your field. But I wouldn't say it's a novel concept, because we have slurry spreaders with the dribble or whatever you call the devices, the injectors that also have cultivation. So if we look, let's turn that off. If we look onto the map, we can see that we have applied seed bed and we have applied a fertilizer state, right? Yeah, it is new and it is not. In terms of the corn machine, let's hop on to the corn machine eventually. I'm gonna skip the time so that the corn is ready for plucking, and then we'll get right into the corn harvest. Okay, so here we have our corn ready to corn. We're gonna go ahead and we have that already unfolded, so all we really need to do is just turn it on, lower it, and then just plow right into the field. And you can see, again, it is not rocket science, it is just a massive corn harvester. There really isn't much to it, honestly. It is just something different. I think a lot of people will be kind of hesitant to use it, but I feel like basically what I'm trying to say is that this is like the first time that we have a vehicle that is looking into the future, right? Everything up until now, as amazing as new harvesters are, you know, less losses and more efficiency in terms of fuel and capacity and all of this, it has always been the same thing, just a harvester and a tractor and this and that, right? And they have all been just separate implements kind of doing farming the same way it has been done for millennia with just slightly more efficiency. This is, I think, the first vehicle that kind of does something new and is headed more toward automated processing as soon as you harvest. But yeah, that was it. It is literally just a harvester. It will definitely take some getting used to. You can see that there is some weirdness happening, and you can see over here, this is what I wanted you to see before, is that you will have that tram line. You will have that thing on the field, and so when you then, ideally, when you then go back onto the field with something like the sprayer that we used on this field, you will align with a tram line you've previously made, and therefore you won't be actually ruining any of your crops. Further to that, if we go into flight mode here real quick, here we go, it looks baller. Tram lines, man, tram lines look awesome. It's what I wanted to see on my fields to begin with. I just love them, right? And so maybe when we take this thing and drive it onto this field, if we had done the whole thing, we could align with that tram line a lot better and do our work from there. But yeah, that's all I have for you today. I didn't script this video, so I was kind of going off the cuff. There were things that I could have prepared a little bit better, but you know, first of all, I'm new at this. Second of all, I don't have all day to prepare these videos, as it were. It already took 2 hours to make. But yeah, NEXAT, fun DLC. If you have the season pass, it is part of it. So if you have the season pass, you already have it, and you can check this out on your own when you have time. If you don't have it, I hope this will help you make a decision on whether or not you want to buy it. To be perfectly honest with you, it is expensive, right? If I go into the store one last time, we're looking at 655,000 for the vehicle alone, right? That's 655. Then you need, if you wanted it as just pure harvester, then you need this thing, the harvesting module, for another 318,000. So already we are pushing 1 million. And then you need your 50-foot header, one or the other, or both if you want it to be effective. So that's another 150,000 here and 182,000 here. So we are looking at, you know, 1.1 million for just the harvester. And if we go to our harvesters, which are somewhere right there, 1.1 million will buy you the top tier harvesters, right? Which you can combine with massive headers as well. This is 15.2, that's your 50-footer, right? This is the same as what the NEXAT can do. and it is cheaper. The where it comes into its own, I think, is if I wanted a 50-foot cultivator, where are cultivators? If I wanted a 50-foot cultivator, that's between these two, I would have to pay the same amount of money for the cultivator as I do for the NEXAT cultivator, and I would need a giant tractor, right? So this is where you start seeing those savings, where you only need one carrier vehicle, and the price of those big implements turns out to be the same as the implements for your NEXAT. So, yeah. So, if you can put up with the enormous size of the vehicle, and if you can put up with the rather wonky steering, and the fact that the AI and or steering assist can be a little bit sketchy at times, I think it's gonna be helpful in the long run. But don't expect to buy it in your first year of farming. It's just not gonna happen. If you're playing sort of realistically, you know, it is an expensive vehicle. Unless you like take out a big loan and start with $1 million, you're not gonna touch it for a while. But yeah, that's it. That's the NEXAT vehicle. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please leave a like. If you have some comments about the quality of this video, let me know. It doesn't have to be positive. I'm looking for feedback, right? From pretty much anybody who watches it. Please leave a comment. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed it, and if you're looking forward to some more Riverbend Springs, and I will keep you updated on whether or not we're going to start a new map sometime soon. Bye for now.